Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is the Team Woods podcast. My name is Ashley J. I'll be your host today, and we are going to find out some things about the life of artist Scott Fain. Scott's one of my dearest friends, which sounds funny to say, as he's also my brother. But as of today, he is my interviewee, and I'm looking forward to it. So, Scott, if you want to jump in and let the folks know what you do.
Well, I'm a paper cutting artist, is the long and short of it. So any of the images that you see are made using just paper and glue, where I'm taking, I like to focus on pop culture and people in music that I like. And one of the things that when I first started off with is I didn't see anybody doing exactly what I had in my head. Whenever you look up paper cutting art online, you'll see a lot of beautiful images. There'll be paper cuttings where it's just people doing these elaborate designs and stuff like that. But when it came to seeing people, especially people of color, people who look like me, represented in some of the artwork, I didn't see a whole lot of it. So for a long time, I had something on my desktop that said, write the story that you want to read. And it's kind of in that same vein that I came up with doing paper cutting, because I wanted to see something. I had it in my head of how it could look, and just through trial and error, that's where I got to where I'm at now with my skill set.
Cool. Okay. Thank you for the explanation. That's pretty cool. Yeah, paper cutting I had not known about before being introduced to your art. Origami in high school, that was
paper folding. Yeah.
Yes. But thank you for that explanation or introduction. I guess I have just a few questions for you, so I'll jump right in if you're ready.
Yep, go ahead.
All right. So what's your first artistic memory?
For my own, it would have to be from our mother. Mom was an artist herself. I can remember her spending a lot of time. She would spend time drawing and always made the birthday cards, and she'd do t-shirts and things like that. And she would do things for people at church and stuff like that. And it was like a part of her soul. And so my earliest is with her, and also to a certain extent, Aunt Connie, our aunt, who's a teacher or retired teacher. I learned a lot watching her, and she used to doodle and draw and illustrate. And so it comes a little bit, naturally in the family. That's my earliest. The first time I started messing around with paper cutting art, it was more of an inspiration. I saw a picture of it was a very pretty picture of this woman who he was facing away from the camera, and the color, it was yellow background, green. She had on a green outfit or whatever. And it just was so striking to me. I was like, I wonder what that would look like in paper. And that's that's where it all kind of starts from. So I recreated that image using just paper and glue. And it was a little rough, but the idea sparked me and gave me some inspiration to kind of keep playing with it until I got to the techniques where I'm at now.
Oh, that's so cool. That's like what the bravery part of being an artist is, seeing something and then fighting past fear, or the fighting past the how, just to get kind of what you see in your head. I think that's cool. So I feel like I know the answer to this, but I'll ask anyway. Would you say there's a piece of you in every piece that you do, or is it more so just your, like you said, pop culture or artists you're interested in, or that sort of thing?
No, it's not all me, but it a lot of it comes down to my point of view. Like every picture that I've ever made comes down to I use reference photography, reference pictures to start with. So I have to look at a bunch of images. I'm always looking at pictures, always. And so when I see a picture, I like to get more candid versus the staged or posed shots, because you're pulling something a little bit different than a straight up, this person took a picture for a photographer as a model type thing. You're looking for, at least I'm looking for, that spark that makes me want to stare at the picture and then, you know, create it, because I've got to work on this thing for hours. So I got to like the image to begin with. So it always starts from what I want to see, what I think will look cool at the end of the day when it's done. You know, and that's the most exciting part to me is I'm always starting something and it's like, I can't wait to see what it looks like, you know, because I use, you know, like a pattern. I create the pattern that I can cut from. And so while you're cutting, you're just looking at this pattern. And only once you've removed all the bits and pieces and you pull off the, you know, the paper, do you actually see if it looks right, you know, if it looks cool. And I'd say 99 times out of 100, it does look cool. I like the thing at the end. You know? Okay,
thanks for that explanation. It kind of leads into what my next question here is. With that 1 percentile, or maybe not that 1 percentile, which piece gave you the hardest time in creating, but gave you, you know, the biggest reward, or you felt the most accomplished after? It could be separate if you need.
No. I've got an answer for that. It's probably the Willy Dynamite that I made. Willy Dynamite is a 1970s blaxploitation movie, and it's hilarious. Unintentionally, I think. And one of the things that when I thought to create something from it, I had to watch the movie and I'm looking at it, I'm pulling images from the production just to kind of see what would look good or what would look cool in an art piece. And so that's the first one I ever did that had like 4 different separate elements in it. You know, there's the Willy, the main character Willy, and I got him like he's like, she cost you money, you know, he's making that look, and I was like, got that perfect one. I did the back of the Cadillac that had his name on the license plate, and you know, there's a woman in the background holding money, and then the villain, who's just my favorite part of the movie, is it's the pimp scene. Anybody who knows the movie will know I'm talking about, the pimp scene where he's like, you got to have vision. And he just made that little look. And so it's like every component of it came together. It looked really sweet to me, but it just coming up with the idea and then finally getting it all kind of compressed into this one image. And I love it. It's probably still my favorite one. And I've done stuff more complicated than that since, but that's probably my favorite. And it was the hardest one at the time to kind of figure out how to do it, you know, initially.
Okay. I definitely remember that one. And just my final question here, since I won't take up your whole day, is would you consider your art your therapy or your celebration?
I would say it's a little bit of both. There's times when I have ADHD, and so sometimes I get in my head about certain things, and there's a clutter, you know, and so when I start cutting, you know, I get in my studio out there in the garage, and I'll just start cutting and lose myself in what I'm doing, you know, because each piece represents problems. You got to solve a problem every time you pick up the knife. You know, it's like every cut, I got to cut it just right. If you're too reckless, you tear the paper. If you don't cut it quite right. And sometimes I make mistakes, and just being able to forgive myself for that mistake and keep it moving. I hate to redo pieces, but there's a zen that I'll take when it comes to doing that, where it's like, if I make a mistake, I'm fine and perfectly willing to throw the whole thing away and start over if I need to. Or if, you know, I think just the one I've been working on, I did one for a piece, for a Doctor Who piece for Microsoft auction. And when I got it done, I had put it on this paper, and everything was complete. And then I just kept looking at it, and I did not like it. And I didn't like that paper. Ultimately, it just was too much blue. So I had a choice. I could just let it fly, or I could try and remove all of my cut pieces from the paper. I knew the risk, because if it didn't work, I might tear something. And I was perfectly willing, if I had to start over and do it again. And just that, taking that mindset is therapy, and it's a celebration when I'm done. And, you know, just being able to, accomplish that. And that feels good to me.
That's dope. I like that. It's kind of both. It seems like it's both. Mm-hmm. The therapy of the ups and downs of getting through making the piece, mm-hmm. to then the ultimate celebration is pretty cool. And I lied. That wasn't my last question.
Go ahead.
Another one is, what drives you to continue making art?
If I had to boil it down, I would say passion. I've got a passion for moving the style of art that I'm doing forward, for one. Passion for just wanting to see what's in here come out into the world. It makes me think about one of the things that I travel to Youngstown for business occasionally, and one of the things that I like is when you go around town driving, you'll see different murals, and there's different artwork like on buildings and stuff like that. And there's one piece it's a street artist named, I think his name is Elio Mercado, and he's got one, it's called Lynched Dreams, where it's a picture of a dove flying away from a man's hand that's had an arrow pop, that's been shot through it. And I think he travels around the world, and he likes to put a mural in every place he goes. And you see something like that, and it speaks to the kind of passion that I have when it comes to creating. I mean, obviously my art doesn't translate into, putting it on the side of a building, but just being creative and sharing it with the world, sharing with people. It's important to me. It's means something to me, hopefully it brings a little bit of happiness to someone. Because every piece I've ever sold always makes me so happy, because somebody saw the thing that I had in my head, I made, and they like it enough, they want to, hold it and put it up and present it in their home. That means something to me,
Absolutely. And if people are so inspired and so inclined, where can they find your art pieces?
I have a website, scottfaindesigns.com. You can also reach me at scottfain.com, and on Instagram at scottfain. I believe it's at scott.fain, I believe.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We'll link all of those down below in case you missed any of it. But we appreciate you taking the time out to speak with us today, letting us know more about your art. And
you, sister.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I respect your ambition, Willie, but you got to have vision.